Hello and welcome to another video. In this video, I will be showing you all the locations of the Hydroculus that you can get from patch 4.0. Now, most of these are pretty straightforward to get, but there are a few that are a little bit more complicated, and I will go over those with this voice. So if it looks a little difficult or you're unsure, just make sure you have the volume on and you can hear my voice. But before I do that, let's go over a few things. The way I have broken this down is that I grabbed the Hydroculus in a particular order. First off, I started off with the Hydroculus that were above ground based on the interactive map I was showing, and then I moved on to stuff that were underground. Following that, I moved on to Hydroculus that were blocked behind world quests. And then finally, the last couple of Hydroculus were ones that I missed at the end and or missed during the editing process, because I did that a few times. But with that being said, the order at which I get the Hydroculus is not necessarily the most ideal or quickest way or best routes. I was doing this on stream and I was challenging myself to get all 85 Hydroculus within a time frame of 3 hours with a count to world quests and all that stuff, and I ended up failing. And if you want to check that stream, I'll put the link down below. That stream ended up taking me 5 whole hours. That being said, let's just go through a couple more of these easy to get ones and just move on from there. Now, with the ones located above the surface, they are pretty easy to grab. They're usually very visible from a certain point, and some of them are maybe a little annoying with some climbing necessary to do, but you can mitigate some of the climbing by finding some of those transporter things or finding or boarding on some of the ships that end up flying. Sometimes even the little bits of helps that you can do to grab the Hydroculus can prove difficult, as you can see with this one at the top of this mountain. I, for some reason, was not able to get my glider to catch the wind and glide up, and required to do a little bit more work to get it with Scaramouche. Now with this one over here, you should not go to the teleport point that you see within the minimap. That one is actually underground. It's actually better to go to the one further south up the mountain and just glide your way down. Now with this next Hydroculus, I have tried climbing up that tower to try and grab it, but I found it not possible. I don't know if anyone was able to figure out a way, but you do need to unlock this treasure chest, and you might not necessarily have to pick it up. I didn't actually check if the thing unlocked without picking up the chest, but behind me there was this little transporter that I could have used right away to grab it. So that's just to save you a little bit of extra time. Now going to this house, you will trigger the start of a quest with the guy buried underneath the sand. So get through that dialogue and then you can grab that Hydroculus. Or you can go from behind him and try and avoid it. Now, if you haven't done the Archon quest yet, then you may not have been to this location yet. But if you do the Archon quest, this should look very familiar, as part of the Archon quest does take you over here, which is on the southeast part of the land, down that hole. Now, this one you don't actually need to climb. There is a transporter that can actually help you get there. However, it is located in the water. I did not know this at the time, so I just ate some stamina food and went climbing, enjoyed the views, and enjoyed the sounds that Yolande made on stream. It was great. Once up that tower, you can just jump down and glide down to grab the next Hydroculus, which is found underneath the bridge. Now this one over here, you don't actually need to climb the tree. There is actually a transporter that I did not notice, but you can see it in the distance as well. Just hop onto that and grab that Hydroculus that I'm climbing the tree for. It's a lot easier and you'll save a little bit of time. Now this one is easy, but this next one by the farm was a little difficult to get. If I try to avoid going into the farmer's land, you will just get teleported away. It was a little annoying. I do not know if there is actually an easier way to do this. However, if you do that quest where you're trying to help that farmer get his dogs, there is an area where you will actually create a little wind cycle that you could probably use to grab this Hydroculus, but I just ended up doing it this way, which does take a little bit more time. So just doing that quest will naturally get you that Hydroculus, and I recommend it, and I would recommend you do it that way, so you can kill two birds with one stone. So don't try and do what I try to do here with gliding down to try and get it, because I absolutely failed. Just head on down, unlock that treasure chest, and make do with the transporter that appears once you unlock that treasure chest. Now with this one, you do need to grab the 3 Sealies to unlock this jet of air to grab this Hydroculus. This is probably not the most convenient way to get it. If you can see down past where I'm gliding down towards, you can see another transporter on the lower end over there. That is where you want to go to get to that Hydroculus. Now this one underneath the water is actually located right next to, very close to that previous one I got. I just cut it in there just to save a little bit of time. You can just swim right there. So I'm not 100% sure, but I think you do need to pick up the remarkable chest to unlock these platforms. Or I was just a little bit too impatient and I just coincidentally picked it up at the same time it appeared. If someone knows, you can leave a comment down below. Now in this case, I actually do not know if gliding is actually faster, but I do enjoy gliding over climbing up cliffs and mountains, so I decided to glide down. I actually prefer gliding down than climbing up. Now this Hydroculus requires a little bit of puzzle figuring out. The water over here is usually boiling hot. You cannot enter or dive into it, so you will need to unlock that whole thing. If you don't know where I currently am, I am in the Melazine village. You do get access to this area by starting a long chain of world quests by talking to one of the painter Melazines, and then you'll eventually talk to a Melazine called Mamère, and then you'll have this area unlocked. However, there are a few Hydroculus locked behind continuing on this world quest. Some areas are blocked off until you progress further with that, so that will take a chunk of time to unlock those last couple of Hydroculus. But I start off with the ones that you can actually access right away. As for the ones in this area, there are a lot of them are high above the ground. However, I do not know if climbing is actually the way to go. I'm pretty sure there are ways to get high up in a more convenient manner. I just don't know where they are. However, I may be wrong on that and someone could let me know. There are actually a few tied to the time trials, which I will do a few of, but not all of them are. Finally, we move underwater. Now these may be a little bit more difficult to follow, but if you have the world map or another tab open with an interactive map to help guide you find them, then you'll be able to know where I am located in. Now, if you are using the interactive map, these two Hydroculus are kind of over top each other, and you might miss the fact that there are two located here. So make sure you grab that one. This one being a little bit more interesting, where you actually need to fish. I don't actually know if you have to like catch a fish or not, but I did that just to play it safe and not waste time. Now this underground area is unlocked by starting a world quest that you can find in the main Fontaine town area, village area. And it should be the biggest exclamation mark by the statue of the Seven located there, and it will trigger that world quest and you'll have access to this area once you start that. I suggest following along with the world quest and picking up everything you can while you're at it. But there are teleport points in this area if you choose not to pick up certain things right away, so you won't be missing out on anything. Now, to save you some time, after grabbing this next Hydroculus that I show here, there is actually another one you can grab. If you continue diving down deeper into that underwater tunnel, you will reach an area where you can grab another Hydroculus, which I will show later in the video. It is the last Hydroculus I end up picking up on stream. Now this area is unlocked after starting a quest with On, and you will need to progress through this quest to unlock all the areas where there are Hydroculus located. Now for this one, you do need to get a couple of Sealies and then unlock that school of fish. Pick up the luxurious chest in the middle of the fish, and then you will unlock the transporter to access that Hydroculus. And here we go back to that tunnel where we got that Hydroculus around here earlier, except this time I go deeper into the tunnel to get access to this area where there is one more Hydroculus. At the end of here, there is some enemies to fight, although that is an optional thing to do, and Hydroculus requires a little bit of jumping, climbing, and maybe some gliding while you're at it too. Now this one I actually completely forgot to record, so I just had to grab the screen recording from the stream. It is located there. That is part of the quest line with the Milazines. It's a new area that you unlock later in the world quest. Finally, we go here, which is tied to the lake with boiling water. Once you figure out the puzzle on the surface, you get landed over here where there's that first Hydroculus, and then if you continue there, skip that giant world boss thing, that scary world boss that I will eventually have to tackle, you will find another Hydroculus right there in the seaweed, and that will be it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more guides and other Genshin Impact related content. But until then, it was a pleasure, and until the next time, adieu and goodbye.